Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends. Welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. And we have another big week to look at in Modern, which is no surprise. We just are off the cusp of GP Las Vegas. We have another Modern GP coming up this weekend. And on top of that, the word's getting out there that Modern Masters 2015 product is starting to dry up in a lot of locations. And stores probably only have a few boxes left coming in, which will probably come in over the course of the next week or so. Now, having said all that, let's start off by looking at our standard cards for the week, specifically the 5 cards that lost value. Coming in at number 5 is Stormbreath Dragon. No surprise here, we're getting closer and closer to the Theros block, moving out of standard. We have already seen quite a few spoilers for Magic Origins, and that's usually the point where people start thinking about taking those decks that have the Theros block cards and maybe retooling them, using some of the cards that are either already out or coming out in Magic Origins. Still worth $11. It dropped to $1.05. I think this is going to continue to drop. So if you're in the market to move on in the standard environment and you haven't sold these yet, you're probably at the point where you want to do so. Number 4, Goblin Rebel Master. And Goblin Rebel Master has been a staple in Standard pretty much for the last year since it came out. It's dropped to $1.10, going down to $10.17. Again, this is another product of this is about to rotate out when we get to Battle for Zendikar. A lot of players are starting to rethink their strategies and get ready for that rotation. Again, if you don't have your Goblin Rabble Masters, this probably isn't the best time to pick them up. I think this is going to continue to drop. If you're looking in the market to sell, probably a good time to sell. Now, this does see some modern play, so it could be a decent long-term investment, but it's going to depend on the modern metagame. Bramaz, King of Oroscos. And again, same story here. Is a great card. He's 13.51, but he lost $1.11 this week, and that trend is just going to keep continuing. So again, if you're in the market to change your decks over for the new standard environment, it's probably the best time to sell him. He's lost quite a bit of value over the last 3 weeks or so, and I think he's going to continue to decline. Number 2 is Dragonlord Ojutai. Now, this is a big standard card. I think it's going to continue to be a big part of the meta game, at least through the next year. It's down to $24.15 and lost another $1.21. The main reason for this was there was a ton of hype on this card coming out of the last Pro Tour. It just was in every standard deck, seemingly. It drove the price up to close to $40, and now it's just coming back to a stable price. I don't see it dropping too much more. This could be an $18, $20 card perhaps, but I think it's going to maintain its value somewhere in the low 20s. This is a card that you probably just want to hang on to, especially if you're a standard player. There's going to be more opportunities to play this as the game evolves. Finally, our number 1 standard card that lost value this week is Narset Transcendent. And Narset has been number 1 or 2 on this list ever since we started doing the Market Watch a few weeks back. She just has so much hype coming out of the set release that she just couldn't live up to. She still sees a little bit of fringe standard play, but she's lost another $2.14, dropping her down to $13.24. And I don't know if this drop is over yet. I could see her being maybe a $8 to $10 planeswalker. She has a very niche role in standard, and her biggest issue is she's competing in formats where she could be good, like Legacy, with cards like Jace the Mind Sculptor at the 4 slot. So I don't know where her home is going to be. Will she find a home in a modern deck that catches on? It's very possible, but right now I can't really endorse picking these up yet. Give it a couple more weeks. If they drop to around the $10 range, maybe pick some up if you are in the market to get any. Now let's look at our top 5 standard cards that have gained value this week, and number 5 is Windswept Heath. And you're going to see a trend here, and I've been preaching it now for a couple weeks. If you haven't purchased your fetch lands, and the same goes for shock lands in the modern format, do so now. This is the time to do so. They are still affordable, but they're going to start creeping up. They already have. And here's one example. Windswept Heath is $12.50. It went up 30 cents this week. Next is Wooded Foothills, and same story here. $12.43 went up 48 cents. This is just going to continue to happen. Eidolon of the Great Revel. This card's increased for the last couple weeks. $10.42. It's gone up 57 cents. Now, this is a Theros block card that's going up. However, the main reason is it does see play in modern decks. So if you're in the market to play Modern Burn or an aggressive red deck, you probably want to get some copies of it. I'd probably get them now. This seems to be starting to catch on a little bit, and it's probably going to be a while before we get a reprint. And the next card is Polluted Delta, and again just fits in with the dual land or fetch land trend we've been seeing. This one's up to $16.13. It's gone up 69 cents. And our biggest mover in standard this week for the second week in a row is Kolaghan's Command. Just continues to see play. It's up to $6.76, increasing 86 cents. It's a card that's seeing standard play, but more so, it was just very undervalued at the beginning, and now it's just kind of catching up to probably where it should be. I like all these commands. I feel like if you're a standard player, pick up playsets of all of them. They all could filter through the metagame at some point, and they all have modern potential as well. Alright, on to Modern. Here's where the big swings have been occurring. So let's take a look at the top 5 cards that lost value this week. Number 5 was Sword of Fire and Ice. Maybe a little bit of a surprise just because this was not reprinted. We don't see a reprint coming, but it was a little bit inflated. It's still worth $55.05. It lost $1.96 this week. I don't expect this card to plummet or anything, so this might not be a bad time to buy if you're in the market to get a couple. Next is Tarmogoyf, and this was on our increase list last week. This week it's gone down slightly, but still valued at $159.25. I don't expect that to change much, and he lost $2.34. Tarmogoyf's just going to hang right around that 555 to 165 marker for a little bit, I think. If you're in the market to get Tarmogoyfs, this is not necessarily a bad time to get them. You may see a little more of a price decrease for the next week, but once the rest of that Modern Masters product dries up, which I have a feeling is going to happen within the next few weeks, this could continue to rise again, may get back up to the $200 mark before we know it. So this is not a bad time to buy Tarmogoyfs from what I can tell. Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre, he's seen a little bit of a decrease, and this kind of happened with Kozilek as well. It's just the fact that there's more copies of him out there now that Modern Masters has been released. And it's the type of card that collectors don't necessarily need to have 4 of for their decks. This is maybe a 1 of an Urzatron or something like that. Commander players will want a copy. So because of that, he's lost a little value. 2180 is still pretty strong though for a card like this, and it did go down $2.67. Again, I think he's going to go down just a little more before the product dries up. So if you're in the market to picking one up, maybe wait a week and see what happens. But we're probably getting close to seeing these cards that have been reprinted in Modern Masters hit their bottom mark before they start going up again. Next is Dark Confidant, and Dark Confidant's been losing value over the course of the last few weeks, and twofold here. One is because of the reprint, but the other is because it hasn't been seen as much modern play right now. If you're in the market to get Dark Confidants, this is the time to do so, or at least within the next few weeks. At any time, this card could explode back onto the scene and go back to an $80, $100 card. So if you can get copies at $50, that's a pretty good deal, I think. The original Modern Masters copy took the biggest hit this week, losing $2.83, bringing it down to $50.95. The original Ravnica version went down $2.24, bringing it to $55.26. So what was the card that lost the most value this week in Modern? Well, it was Blood Moon, the card that gained the most value last week. So we saw some speculation on Blood Moon last week that really drove the price up pretty high. It's come down a little bit. I don't know if it's going to come down that much more, quite honestly. So the biggest hit was the 9th edition version, which lost $5.68, bringing it down to still a respectable $51.99. And the 8th edition version was very similar, losing $5.35, bringing it down to $49.99. Blood Moon's still going to be a big card. It's going to be speculated on. Watch the Pro Tour or the GP this weekend very closely. That's going to help you know if Blood Moon is going to keep going down or going up. I have a feeling it's going to go up. There's a lot of decks that are running it in the main board. There's a lot of decks that are putting it in there for protection against decks like Amulet, which did very well in the last Pro Tour. So this could see a little more of a decrease in value just because it got speculated on and got inflated over the last week. Probably this still isn't the time to buy. I would wait another week or two to see what the market does. Once this sort of flatlines, then it's probably safe to make your purchase again. But with any luck, hopefully this will drop down at least another $5 or $10 within the next few weeks. Alright, let's look at the top 5 modern cards that gained value this week. Coming in at number 5 is Raging Ravine, and I think you'll see a trend here. There's a lot of cards that were not reprinted, and maybe collectors don't really see a point in which they're going to be reprinted anytime soon. Raging Ravine falls into this category. In addition, there's also a little bit of a trend in the metagame for red, green, and black decks that are pretty strong that are showing up out there. So again, keep a close eye on this week's GP to see if these decks do well. If they do, cards like Raging Ravine will continue to increase. If they don't do so well, they'll probably start to stabilize a little bit. So it's now up to $10 and saw an increase of $6.26 this week. Next is Olivia Valdarin. Again, kind of fits into the same theme as Raging Ravine. She's up to $15, but she basically doubled in price this week, up to $7.66. So a lot of speculation over this modern GP and what decks are going to be hot. Next is Magus of the Moon, and he's now up to $19.12, going up $8.54. Magus is seeing some decently strong modern play. A lot of speculation again going into this GP that he's going to be a big card. Partially, though, this increase is due to the fact that last week Blood Moon spiked so high that this is a quote-unquote budget version of Blood Moon for players right now. So if you can't afford a Blood Moon, they look to this card instead. Now this card is starting to get the boost in price, and this is a pretty significant boost in price as well. Number 2 is Huntmaster of the Fell, and again, a lot is going to ride on this weekend's GP to see if this continues to be a trend. If these green and red and black decks really take off, well, we could continue to see a nice trend and an increase in these type of cards. But again, Huntmaster is another one that just more than doubled this week, went up to $15.99, increased at $9.05. And our biggest mover, which is a huge mover but shouldn't be too shocking, is Snapcaster Mage. This was the Blood Moon of the week. It has been highly speculated on, and it's now up to $84, increase of $17.75 this week. That's crazy. So I hope you listened to me last week when I said buy your Snapcaster Mages now, because you would have made about $20 for each one you bought, which is insane. Now, I feel like there's a lot of speculation right now around this card, much like we saw Blood Moon last week that just spiked and now is starting to drop down a little bit. This could happen with Snapcaster Mage as well, especially if you don't see a lot of play this weekend at the GP. Now, having said that, this is just a huge card, and I don't think it's going to drop all $17. It may lose $5, $10 over the next few weeks to kind of stabilize. This is just such a huge spike. It makes me say be wary of buying these at $84. With any luck, this price will go down, but watch it closely because this is a hot, hot card. And if there's some decks that just explode with Snapcaster this weekend, it could retain this value point. So keep a close eye on this one. I would hold for right now, but watch it close. Next weekend we'll have probably a better idea of what this is going to do over the short term. So, having said all that, that is our market watch for the week. If you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe to the channel, please do so. We have a lot of great content coming up. We're going to be doing our Magic Origins set review as well as spoilers, which should really kick into full swing within another week or so here. And we have a ton of great product to open up. We have a Conspiracy Box. We have another box of Modern Masters 2015. If you haven't checked out a lot of our videos, check them out. Definitely remember to like and subscribe. And as always, have a great day. Hey, thanks as always for watching. If you're still looking for quality Magic the Gathering videos, click on one of these annotations. And if you hadn't had a chance yet to subscribe, smash that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the breaking MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, crazy product openings, or gameplay videos on Heroes and Legends MTG. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.